Hello, I'm Richard, and this is Rash, and this is the TBK podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing Adrian Broner's recent performance and his future. Where does he go from here? So, Rash, what's your opinions on Broner? Are you a fan?
Do you know what? I think the day before when they were saying that they were moving the fight to like 147, I kind of just knew like he wasn't taking things seriously anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? I think he's just fighting because obviously he had that I don't know what the court case was about. He had that court case in like December or whatever, and he just needed to pay off his money. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the only reason. He's not fighting because he loves fighting. He's fighting to get the money. He loves the lifestyle that fighting brings him, but he's not fully dedicated to his craft. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even after the fight, he was talking about what was he saying? He was like, "Oh yeah, we gonna cash checks and have sex all weekend, and then on Monday we get back to or something like that." So he's still got a lot of charisma. He still sells a lot. Like people will watch him fight, but he's not fighting for the right reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to be struggling with someone like that what's his name, Santiago, who is relatively a nobody. That's not a good sign as well. Do you know what I mean? Like normally he can run through that level of opposition, and he only gets gun shy around the top guys. But now he's starting to get complacent, and he's starting to struggle with the lower level guys.
Yeah.
But saying that, even when Broner was a bit younger, he was always a bit of a slow starter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember him giving rounds away to Gavin Reese, and that's when I kind of said to myself, like, well, so when he was gonna go fight Maidana, I was like, Madonna's going to drop him early. And people are like, nah, Broner's going to beat him. But I was like, nah, Madonna's going to drop him early because Broner takes 3 or 4 rounds to get going in the fight. And Maidana would always come out, like, on his day, he'd come out swarming you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then,
like beast.
Yeah, he was a beast, man. So coincidentally, that I think that's the fight that kind of took a lot of his busyness away from him as well, because that fight's just made him anxious now. He got ridiculed so much with that fight, he doesn't want to be in that situation again. So he'd rather just lose on points decision and not get dropped and whatever than take the risk and everything, man. So it's a bit sad to see. I think he's still a bit shell shocked from it, but he only turns it up after like round 5, really.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I've still got a different view to yourself. I think that it was actually quite a good performance from Adrian Broner. A lot of people are saying that they think that he lost the fight, and I can actually see that, which kind of contradicts what I'm saying, me saying that I think it was a good performance. But what we need to remember is Adrian Broner has been out the ring for over 2 years. He's been very inactive, and in that period, what has he been doing? Adrian Broner has been drinking, he's been partying. When he said he's going to do it for the weekend, he's been doing it for them 2 years. He's been, catching cases. He's got 8 children. Adrian Broner hasn't been playing, so for him to come back and give away the first 5 rounds, but then turning it up, and if you watch the second half of the fight, he was quite active. He threw and landed some good punches. I thought, this is, even though we didn't stop his opponent, this is a good performance for a man who's been inactive for so long. If we really think about other fighters who do live the life, like Josh Warrington, and we look at the impact that ring rust had on them, it led to losses. Whereas with Adrian Broner, you could argue he lost, but even if you didn't give it to him, he lost by a point or so, as opposed to getting completely knocked out, and derailed. So I thought it was a good performance, relatively, based on all of the factors leading up to the fight. I feel like if Adrian Broner was to fight the same opponent, Santiago, again, he'd do much better. He'd probably start earlier. You are completely right, and the reason why I agree with you, Adrian Broner is still getting over the mental damage from getting beaten up and embarrassed by Marcus Medina. But even that fight was a close fight.
Yeah,
that fight was 8-4, 7-5, one or the other. It was, 8.
I wouldn't say. I think it was competitive, but it was clear he won the fight. But Broner came back down the stretch. He came back because he got dropped in the 8th round. Before he got dropped, he was winning that round. Like he hit Maidana to the body a couple of times. In that 12th round, he beat the brakes off Maidana. That's why I think he was close to dropping him. Yeah, because he hit him with some hard shots. I think Maidana even said after that fight, Broner's the strongest fighter that I've ever been in with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but exactly. Broner came back, but Broner was so high on himself, and that's part of the problem. He was so high on himself that he just never thought he'd lose. He thought he was
And not losing that fashion either.
yeah, he thought he was the next Mayweather. He didn't imagine that that he could ever be beaten, and he got beaten up and he got embarrassed. But it wasn't just. It was like Medina. He tried to mock humping Medina, some different fruity done, and then Medina did it back to him. It was almost like his chickens came home to roost. He got dropped. He had jelly legs. All of those things, more than the fight and the distance in the fight, because we've seen much more one-sided fights where the opponent is left with some respect.
Yeah,
it was the manner in which he lost. Because of what he laid out, and I just feel like you're right. He's never recovered from that completely. But this type of fight, close fights where he's taken over the second half of the fight. He's fought a fight against Vargas where I think he won that fight really, and that was a draw.
Yeah, I was watching that the other day actually. That was a good fight.
He pulled it out. At stages in that fight. I feel like those are the type of recovery fights that he needs. I think that Broner can still be one of the biggest stars in the sport. We know what the boxing game is. This is not one of the LDBC podcasts. We try to be as neutral as possible. But the reality of it is, Broner always had the ability to be a star because Broner talks a lot of crap, like Floyd and like other boxers, like Fury. But Broner's more charismatic than Floyd Mayweather. He's more charismatic than Tyson Fury. Broner can really talk. And talks, he's engaging. He should really be a star, but the thing is,
he just couldn't back it up. I don't think he was putting in the work. Like even someone like Tyson Fury, I don't think he was putting in the work that Tyson Fury put in. No. I don't think he's putting in the work that Floyd put in.
Yeah.
And that's a sad situation. I think he had so many yes men around him telling him he was this and he was that.
Yeah.
And he started to believe his own hype. Do you know what I mean? I think around that Maidana fight, like you're saying, he never thought he could lose that fight. Never in a million years.
Yeah.
When he got beat up, and especially in the way that he got beat up, he was like, oh shit. But saying that though, I think I've noticed there's a trend with Broner. Like the fights that he has lost and everything, he rarely ever loses the 12th round. I think the only 12th round he's lost is to Manny Pacquiao, or he rarely ever loses the last round of a fight. Like he really turns it up in the last round. Like even on Mikey Garcia, Mikey was beating him up like all the way through the fight, and then I think 11th and 12th, Broner started to kind of put it on him a bit.
It's all mental with Broner. It's all mental. I'll tell you what, going off on a bit of a tangent, Tyson Fury is going to lose very soon. He's probably going to lose his next fight because Tyson Fury and Broner have a lot of similarities. Tyson Fury doesn't think he'll ever lose. He's got that type of confidence. But Tyson Fury is not training properly, just like Broner. He's not living the life. And I don't care who you are. No one is that special that they're above the rules of boxing and the laws of boxing. It's like when Eubank Jr., again, I keep going back to him because I'm a fan. Eubank Jr. was like, I don't need a coach. Okay, Muhammad Ali needed a coach. Mike Tyson needed a coach. Roy Jones needed a coach, but you don't because you're better than all of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a load of shit. You need a coach. And the same thing with Tyson Fury. Look, every single fighter we've seen balloon up in weight and come down and balloon and come down. He's caught up with him eventually. He's going to catch up with Tyson Fury and he's going to lose very soon. That's why he's trying to pull out of this fight with Joshua, which he will. But if he pulls out and fights some no-name, it wouldn't surprise me to see him lose to that person.
Do you know what? Do you know the thing with Tyson Fury is I've noticed that when he's the massive favorite over someone who's just kind of good, they're not that good, but they're just good. He always seems to struggle with them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like with Wallin, Wallin's not rubbish, but he's not elite either, but he's just good. So I think Tyson was expected to just go out there and just do his thing. Then he's struggling with him. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Steve Cunningham, he's not rubbish, but he's not good either. Like, but he's just in the middle. Tyson obviously got dropped by him and everything. So I think with Tyson Fury, he needs that edge where people are doubting him and saying, yeah, he's gonna get knocked out, he's gonna be this, he's gonna be that. That makes, I think that switches something on in him where he's like, no, I'm not losing this fight.
Yeah.
Whereas if he doesn't have that doubt against him, I think he gets a bit complacent. Even with Klitschko, people were saying, oh, he's gonna get knocked out, he's gonna be this, he's gonna be that. Yeah. He went out there and put on it was a dull showing, but
he won. The clinic. The thing is, listen, the Klitschko win was a great win, and that's the best win. And I'm not denying that he's a quality fighter. He is. But what I'm seeing is the variables in place. He should never have shown up in that bad shape that he has recently. That shot indicates that he's not training. This is the thing with Fury. What people really overlook is his level of opposition is very low. His level of opposition is extremely low. I know you might not agree with me, or you might. Wilder is not a proven great champion. Okay, he's a top 10 fighter at heavyweight without a doubt. He has the power, but that's it. He doesn't have the skill. He doesn't have a number of the variables. He's very undersized. He doesn't have a number of the skills required to succeed at heavy. And I think a win over him proves something because other people couldn't do it. But listen, with a bit more luck, who knows what might have happened with Luis Ortiz. If Luis Ortiz was fighting in another country and he had Wilder hurt badly, they gave him 30 seconds to recover. Luis Ortiz is not that proven. A Wilder win is not an amazing win. It's a decent win. Wilder's a beef level fighter due to his size and his athleticism. The only A-level fighter, or A- you can argue, is Klitschko. And, that was a great win. I can't take that. No one can take that away. He doesn't have the depth in resume, and that over complacency, that confidence in his head that he has, from the fans gassing him up, from everyone telling him it's easy, no one can beat him. When he loses Fury, he'll be absolutely ruined. He'll be just like Broner. He's another Broner. The only difference is Broner moved up 4 weight classes.
So going back to the actual point, who do you think Broner should fight next? Like, do you think he's gonna keep bringing 140 opponents up to 147? Do you think he's actually gonna make 140 next time? And who do you want to see him fight at 140?
Broner, he's not gonna make 140, Broner, and he shouldn't fight an elite opponent. And I'm not saying that Broner should never fight an elite opponent again. If Broner fights Danny Garcia next, he'll lose to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a very good fighter with good power, and he lives the life, and he can take solace in that all of his losses, with the exception of perhaps the Errol Spence loss, have been debatable. Broner can't take that confidence. I think that what Broner needs to do is fight another couple of soft touches, because he's a confidence-based fighter. If Broner manages to go on a run of 5 wins, regardless of the level of opponent, and get in shape, Broner will compete again, and I think he'll be successful. Not only will he be a star, I think at 140, I can't see him beating Prograis or Taylor, obviously, but both will probably move up fairly soon. I don't think that Broner is in his infancy, but if they do move up, who's going to beat Broner at 140? An active Broner.
Yeah, it just depends on what he wants to do. Because I think if he actually got focused, then I know focus Broner and then focus they be in or whatever. But I think if he actually got focused and can properly compete at 147, I think Prograis would beat him now. But I think he can give Prograis a good fight, and then that would get more people interested in. Again, I think Josh Taylor would beat him, but
they're both
give Taylor a good fight and everything as well. Again, but that's if he actually wants to live the lifestyle. That's if he wants.
That's the problem.
That's where he wants to go. Do you know what I mean?
That's the problem.
Because it doesn't seem like he knows what he wants to do. Like, he wants to be famous, but he doesn't really want to put in the work that boxing actually requires. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I agree. The problem with Broner is everything that you've just said and poor career management. Terence Crawford is one of my favourite fighters, and he is one of the best boxers out, but he unified at 140 with fights against who? Who was it? It was the blue machine, Julius Indongo. It was Postal.
Yeah.
Who else was it?
And I think that was it, because he got the who had the WBO? I think he got the WBO when he first came up against Delorme, I think it was.
Yeah, Delorme.
And then Postal had
what's the other guy's name now?
You got, sorry?
There was another guy who had a bit of needle before the fight. There was a bit of beef. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like a hood boxer.
Hank Lundy.
Lundy. Was
but
Lundy
then he never had a belt. Like, but yeah, them two didn't like each other and everything. But But yeah, I think did Postal have a belt as well? I think Postal had the
WBA belt. He did, yeah.
Yeah, so then Ndongo beat Ricky Burns because Ricky Burns had the WBA.
Yeah.
He had 2 belts already.
Decent, but he wasn't great.
Yeah.
So those fighters, the relevance of me telling you that is, if Adrian Broner moves down to 140, at that time, let's remove Crawford from the situation. Would you be surprised if he beats Postal in Ndongo, add Ricky Burns and Lundy, and you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I think probably the only one that would really give him a good fight would be Postal.
Yeah, that's the only one. You'd probably expect him to beat them. So with the right management and the right circumstance, Broner's a unified 140 champ, and we're having a completely different conversation. But the problem is with Broner is consistent poor management and poor attitude. You know, he's eating his career away. He's eating his career. I like mac and cheese as well, but
we're not professional fighters,
not professionals. Yeah, if you're offering me that money, then no beer, no mac and cheese. I'll train instead for a couple mil. So he needs to change his mindset. He needs to stop living vicariously through Floyd Mayweather, because he's not Floyd Mayweather. But that doesn't mean he can't be a great in his own right. And, that's one of the problems with a lot of these boxers. They want to accomplish. People today, they live too fast. They might see you rash, driving a BMW and using a nice computer, and they might see you with your missus and you're happy and whatever else, and they don't know the work that you've put in to accomplish that. They don't know that you've gone into work 5 days a week, that you've broke your back, you've put up with all sorts to accomplish that. They just want to step in and expect it immediately.
And that's it's like when people ask you, oh yeah, how did you get this? How do you they're not expecting you to tell them all the hard work you did to do it. It's like they just want a cheat code for things. You know what I'm saying? They don't really want to put in the hard work. So.
And that's in our level,
that's
our life, on our level.
Yeah.
So, people like Broner, despite having accomplished a lot, he sees Floyd Mayweather, 5-division world champ, undefeated, and he thinks, I want that, but he doesn't see the hours in the gym. He doesn't see that because he's in the club, he's enjoying himself, and that's his problem. That's his problem. I think that's it, Rash.
Right. It's been good talking. Yeah. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that's it for us. That's it from us today, guys. All right, bless.
And this is the TBK podcast.